I think we did make strides. I think we learned a little bit more on how not to beat ourselves.
RB's first game of the 2014 season was a showdown with a very good St. Francis team. RB had some early success on defense thanks to their quick-moving linebackers.
We did the best job, in my opinion, of pass blocking. I mean, was the general thing. I mean, run blocking that game might have been a little difficult for us throughout the game. I mean, with the line, but pass blocking definitely. I thought that was pretty solid. We had some big plays. I think it was Chap or maybe Antone that got a big reception downfield later in the game. I think that was a lot due to the linemen working through any hardships through the game, whether it was pass protections or anything like that. So pass protection for sure was something that we held together throughout that game.
However, St. Francis proved to be too much for RB this early in the season, and RB fell 35-9.
In the Lamont game, our game plan was to come out in a no-huddle offense, which I think did kind of shake up Lamont's defense a little bit.
The Lamont game started as one stop after another, but the Bulldogs finally broke through with the first score of the game.
The offensive lineman becomes extremely difficult, and you see Lamont brought the rush, but he still finds number 80 for the Bulldogs. That would be Lou Raj, the senior, in the end zone for a touchdown.
Assignments were down. We're more down pat. The run blocking was a lot better throughout that game, especially coming out of the gate. Figuratively, we took our foot off the gas pedal. I mean, we were going through it, and then they had one score, and I hope to think that no one thought that we were out of the game by any means at that point.
With a flurry of offensive activity in the second half, Lamont found their stride, leading to a final score of 42-14. RB came into Gary Westside down a key piece. Matt Chap went down with a season-ending injury only a few days before the game.
Whether he was playing receiver or he was playing running back, he's an explosive player, and being able to hit a hole harder, being able to be more shifty, going from side to side on the line. I mean, it does make the line's job easier and just push the guy instead of having a running back run into him or whatnot. So, but yeah, Chap definitely was a hit in the chink in the armor, but we made sure we moved on and kept him in our minds and whatnot.
However, Brian Kulaga filled the void, scoring 5 touchdowns in a losing effort.
I think Brian Kulaga got off to a quick start. I think he was a threat both in the pass game and in the run game. He showed that he can catch the ball underneath and still do some things. I think his style of play matched up well against Gary Westside.
With Jack Vandermeer going down in the first offensive series, Ryan Swift got his first varsity quarterback action.
Well, we were practicing a lot during the off-season, the receivers and myself, and then the O-line just had a fantastic game, obviously 49 points. That was all of them. So when we got our chance, the receivers and I have chemistry, so we ended up putting up 49 points.
The Bulldogs traveled to Rich Central for their second consecutive away game. From the get-go, it was all Rich Central. They scored first off a 27-yard touchdown strike, and they continued their dominance with a strong running game. They were up by 2 scores before RB could blink, 14-0. The story of RB's offensive game were the 13 drops. Several came on potentially key plays in the game.
When it stinks when you have the first down and there's a drop, but those every once in a while they're supposed to happen when there's double-digit ones. The receivers, they kind of felt bad about that and expected more out of themselves. And it wasn't all their fault. Some of them weren't the best thrown balls.
But it's something that the whole team has to take into account. Saying the receivers may drop a pass, but Swift might get hit or something by line or get pressure. So I don't want to blame it all on the wide receivers, but definitely an incomplete pass or a drop can hurt a drive, like we all know.
Ryan Swift scored RB's only points of the game on a scramble, and RB eventually fell 33-6. The conference rivalry between Ridgewood and RB began with a missed field goal by Ridgewood. RB marched down the field and was looking very good offensively.
I think the receivers did a good job just making sure, because after a few games with Swift, they got the connection between wide receiver and quarterback.
Running back Brian Kulaga went down with a dislocated elbow. RB gave up the first points of the game, going down 7-0. but right back came RB with several plays downfield, one of which came to Kyle Tracy to put the ball on the 2-yard line.
You know, Lewis is, in some regards, our Mr. Everything, you know, when he's returning kicks, punts, secondary, playing receiver. I mean, there's a lot of things that we counted on Lewis to do for us this year. And above all those things, you know, I think it was his leadership that he brought to the table that really had the greatest impact on our team.
After the half, an explosive Rebel run put Ridgewood up by 7. But Ryan Swift matched his effort, leveling RB once again. RB got a key stop on 4th down to force a turnover on downs. After RB failed to move the ball, Ridgewood scored a go-ahead touchdown with 1 minute 37 seconds left in the game. However, they missed the extra point to keep the door open for RB.
Unfortunate that, you know, it ended the way it did. And as you may recall, you know, we had the ball on maybe our own 20, and we drove the length of the field, got the ball inside the 15-yard line, went up for the kill to spike it, you know, because there was still some time on the clock. And you go back and you look, one ref is winding the clock, one ref is waving his hands above the clock to stop it. So, you know, it's unfortunate. You know, we as a football program, we never point fingers at the officials. That's not how we operate. But at the same time, it would have been nice to get that one play off, or at least have some certainty as to what the true call was in that situation.
RB came into their penultimate conference game against Elmwood Park desperately wanting a win. Justin Agnew scored 2 rushing touchdowns, and Zach Wicken added a 50-yard touchdown run.
You know, Justin Agnew has been a very versatile type athlete for us in the sense that he's playing fullback, tailback, inside linebacker, outside linebacker. You know, he just had one of those games where I know he was feeling it. I could tell during pregame that he was feeling good. He knew going into that game that he was going to get a bulk of the carries.
Lewis Rogers took the first half kickoff back for an 85-yard touchdown and added 3 interceptions on defense. Tight end Kyle Tracy caught 4 Ryan Swift passes, including 1 for a touchdown after towing the line. RB came out with a definitive 42-7 win in the 7th game of the season, heading into their matchup against Nazareth.
Well, with Nazareth, you know, it's always a unique week that they're so close to the school in proximity.
Swift waiting the snap. Man in motion. Dean Siglish. As Swift backs his pass, gets sacked right off the gate. Oh, man. That Nazareth player blew right by number 71 on the Bulldogs. That'd be Vince Castillo.
Nazareth made full use of a powerful ground attack. They took an early lead and didn't give it up.
Jeske hands off to Smith, and Smith powers into the end zone for the touchdown.
Once the game started, got a little rough, and then I felt like we were moving pretty well, and then we ended up not really going anywhere, and after that kind of drive or two, we just kind of fell apart completely.
RB suffered their worst loss of the season, a shutout loss 41-0.
Sucks to lose by so much to that kind of a program, but I mean, it just kind of makes the team hungrier for a win against that kind of a team, because I mean, that's, you know, just something we want to improve on.
RB's last game of the season matched them up against conference foe Fenton. Despite strong offensive efforts by Ryan Swift, Dean Siglish, and Justin Agnew, and great defensive efforts by Richard Theus and Nick Kundari, RB eventually fell 43-14 to Fenton on their last game of the season.
I think it was a season that was extremely challenging given our schedule. You know, we had 6 teams that we faced that went on to play in the second season.
And you know, every year we have lots of talent, but after the 3 years, I feel like every year we've been getting closer as a team. You know, my brother left that year, and that was a close team. But this year, I was with guys that I've known since Raiders and in middle school and from Gross and House and everything. So I mean, I feel better about, you know, being with a group of guys that I know really well.
He was also practicing a lot with me and Lewis during the off season. He only had 1 drop this year, so that was, I believe, the best out of all the receivers. And yeah, he's just been working really hard, and we're going to continue that and change our record.
Excited about the future and everything that Ryan and Dean accomplished this year. They'll be the first to tell you that it's a product of hard work. Those guys were the first ones out there every day, the last ones to leave, and there's a lot of times you can drive by Shuey Stadium, you're going to see both those guys.